All right, happy Lucidity Festival. I'm super impressed. This is the first year that I've come out here. So yeah, this is really beautiful. I'm from Colorado. My name is Rayne Grant. Yeah, I drove out here with my friend Celeste. I have been very, very intrigued and immersed in all things fungi for a little over a decade now. And I'll try to kind of be brief in my introduction of myself. So my name is Rayne. You can find me on all social media platforms. I do own the Colorado Mushroom Company. I'm very, very passionate about mushroom medicinals and how we can use fungi to help, I don't know, heal ourselves and also heal the planet. I have been working on a documentary for about a decade now. It's slow going, but I have so much footage, it's ridiculous. So the name of my documentary is a question. It is, can mushrooms save the planet? And I have been talking to many of the people who are, you know, the leading edge in their field, the experts, the top dogs, so to speak. And I invested in every single book I could possibly get my hands on having to do with mycology, mushrooms, foraging, and, well, I'm an herbalist as well, so all things having to do with healing. And I have a very strong interest in aphrodisiacs. So this year I have been traveling to various events, mycological festivals, music festivals, and I've been doing a talk on this topic. This will be my fourth time doing this particular talk, and every time I do it, it's a little different. So, you know, it has to ebb and flow. So stick around. I do have some mushroom chocolates, aphrodisiac chocolates that I made up specifically for this festival. It has no psilocybin in it. Sorry, guys. Sorry, you'll have to find your own psilocybin. But it does have some aphrodisiacs in it, some mushroom and some herbs, and I'll go over some of that. Yes, so I also have the club, the Four Corners Mycological Society. If you're interested in foraging, education, identification, you can join our group. We are located in the Four Corners region, but we extend our invite to everyone. I'm also the president of a nonprofit organization called the Psychedelic Club of Durango. We're one of 30 chapters nationwide, and I've been doing that for about 5 years. Yeah, just trying to bring the topics, you know, up for discussion. It's really important to have these conversations, especially the ones that are taboo, you know, and make it more socially acceptable. A lot of these things have been looked down upon, and for a long time because of politics and all the fun things. But the more that we talk about it, the more it's normalized. So here I am speaking my voice, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. So, okay, I don't know, thank you. I don't know how well you can see this monitor, but either way, I'm just using this PowerPoint presentation to kind of keep me on topic, you know, because I could ramble on. So anyway, Can Mushrooms Save the Planet is my documentary. I was just at Jim and Jam Festival, and I didn't make a beautiful picture for this one. I am so sorry. Four Corners Mycological Society. Much love, you guys. The future is fungi. That's my sister. She's so cute. All right, so I think I already talked about, okay, yes, we are going to get to it. So I am really, really passionate about fungi. Who here is passionate about fungi? Yeah? Awesome. And, you know, it's okay if you're not, because, you know, what are fungal creatures? And yes, I refer to them as creatures because they behave very much like animals. Mushroom, nootropics, and aphrodisiacs. So, first of all, we'll go into the topic of what's a nootropic. If you look at the definition of what a nootropic is, it says, you know, the definition is things that kind of help our brain, right? Help us think, memory, focus, things like that. I kind of look at it a little bit deeper than that. I like to look at it holistically. Our body has nerve endings, like we're covered in nerves. So to me, it's not just our brain that we need to think about, it's our entire nervous system. And a lot of our health and well-being has to do with not only how our nervous system is functioning, but our gut, the flora inside of our bodies, the flora on the outside of our bodies, all those things. And, we are basically walking universes, if you want to think about that. We have billions of creatures in us and on us. And yeah, it's kind of, I don't know why that just seems so romantic to me. I don't know. It can be kind of creepy, but I don't know. It's kind of cool. So I don't know if you can see this picture. This is me next to a giant Amanita muscaria. This is an Amanita muscaria flavivolvata. There are many different varieties of this mushroom. It grows on every single continent on the planet other than, I guess, Antarctica. But, that's to be seen. We might find frozen ones. I don't know, Amanita. It's a beautiful, iconic mushroom. The red one with the white polka dots. You've probably seen it in Alice in Wonderland, in children's, like if you go in the toy store, you'll see them everywhere. But they're known to be poison, toxic, it'll kill you, okay? This is a mushroom I've had a very personal relationship for about 9 years now. I go up into the mountains go above 9,000 feet or so. You want it to be nice and moist, but you'll find these mushrooms growing under spruce and pine, things like that. And I will say this, just first off, never eat or consume a mushroom that you do not know how to properly identify. You could die, okay? This is like the truth. And in actuality, most mushrooms are not going to kill you. And it's not bad to touch them, even if they are poisonous. There are Amanita varieties that will kill you. There's one called the death cap. It will destroy your liver. It'll shut down all your systems. So Amanita muscaria does have toxins in it. And so it is very important to know what you're identifying and then how to properly prepare it. These things are very, very important. So what do I have here? What slide do I have? If you can see this is the underbelly of an Amanita muscaria. It's very feminine. Some of these mushrooms are more feminine and some are more masculine. I really, really kind of get off on foraging. There's a whole Facebook group called mycosexuals, if you're into that kind of thing. People will take pictures of themselves being all sexy with the, it's a thing, okay? So the queendom of fungi. So you've heard of the kingdom, like we've got all these kingdoms, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom. I call them queendoms, the queendom of fungi, and I call it that because I believe that the fungal creatures are some of the mothers, if you will, of our planet. They are the creators of soil and the reason why we have plants, quite frankly. It's the fungi and the bacteria that, as far as my research has shown, it's the fungi and bacteria and sometimes the algae that work together to terraform or transform rocky planets in our universe or universes into inhabitable planets that humans or humanoids or whatever you want to say can reside on. They are they're the creators of the soil, and so I look at them as the queendom. So the queendom of fungi as a panacea. A panacea means a cure-all, and some of these mushrooms, literally, when you list the properties of all the things that they do, it's kind of like, really? Does it really do all of those things? Now, some fungi are more apt to do one thing or another, neurogenesis, balancing the blood sugars, immunomodulation, all the beautiful things that fungi do. And so learning how to use them and use them in conjunction with each other and use them in conjunction with other plant medicines is kind of like an angle I've kind of gone into. They are full of antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, all of the things, anti-tumor, for goodness sake. I mean, like, some of these mushrooms are kind of next level, and it's like, how in the heck? How in the heck are they doing this? So this is a reishi mushroom. You've probably heard of it. It's a very common, it's been used for thousands of years. Ganoderma lucidum is the most common one. There are plenty of different Ganoderma varieties. In Colorado, we have a Ganoderma applanatum, which is the artist conch. I might have one of those out here. And feel free to look. I just brought a few books, but some of these mushrooms are really cool. So this is a Ganoderma applanatum. They can get really big. They're a conch mushroom, and they grow on the side of a tree. And the underbelly is white and bruises very easily. You can actually draw pictures into it. That's why it's called the artist conch. And you can draw little pictures on it. If it's growing on the tree, what's kind of cool is you can kind of like draw on it and then come back and it fills back in with spores and you can do it again. It's kind of cool. But so the reason why I am mentioning reishi is because when our systems are balanced, when our brain is balanced, when our guts are balanced, when everything's balanced, we are higher performing individuals, as far as I can tell. So when we're talking about aphrodisiacs, nootropics, the ability to, function, a lot of these mushrooms really play a part in it, whether or not they're stimulating us in the way that you would think a aphrodisiac would or not. So reishi is really, really good for helping with memory and things like that. It gives us a lot of sugars that our brain really kind of feeds off of. And if you start taking reishi mushrooms on a regular basis, you'll see most people will. Everybody's a little different, but you'll probably notice that you feel a little higher functioning in a lot of different ways. So reishi is a really good one to tap into. I kind of throw in these fun videos and snippets of me with mushrooms just because, I don't know. I mean, they're fun. So this is supposed to be a toxic mushroom. And so I have actually had people give me crap about, licking the mushroom. You're going to die. No, you're not going to die. So Amanita muscaria. This is a mushroom that I have been working with, studying, and I teach about in different capacities. Oh gosh, sorry about that, guys. getting frisky with the mushroom there. Mushroom aphrodisiac. So, okay, I'm going to try to stay on topic here because I could go in any number of directions, and this will help me keep on track. So, mushroom aphrodisiacs. What's an aphrodisiac? What's an aphrodisiac? Celeste, what is an aphrodisiac? So an aphrodisiac is something that stimulates us. Many people think of aphrodisiacs as something that you might eat and it makes you feel randy, right? But really, to me, what an aphrodisiac, it is something that stimulates you on all the levels. Think about all of our senses: taste, smell, sight. Can anybody name any other senses? Touch, the sixth sense, even psychic senses, right? But basically something that stimulates you. It can be a thought. You can smell something that reminds you of your lover and suddenly you're turned on. That's an aphrodisiac. Even just a dream could be an aphrodisiac, right? So, yes, there's a lot of types of aphrodisiacs, but it's all very individual to you personally and what turns you on. That's why sexuality is such an individual thing. Some people are more apt to be in their mind, or some people might be more into the touch. Her breath is like honey, spiced with aromatic cloves. Her mouth is as delicious as a ripe mango. Kissing her skin is like tasting a lotus flower. The hollow of her navel hides spices aplenty. And about the joys that wake beyond, the tongue knows but cannot say. So this particular mushroom that you see here is a Schizophyllum communi, which is a very strange mushroom. It's beautiful. It has over 35 different sexes. Can you imagine that? As humans, we're like, what am I? Am I feminine? Am I masculine? It's think about this, 35 different sexes. We think we're confused. Maybe not. I just think it's a fun idea. I wrote an article about that topic, whether or not fungi are more masculine or feminine, which is kind of silly thinking that some of them have thousands of sexes, right? And so I'll kind of lightly explain what that even means. So spores float in the air. There are some spores that are in the water, right? And it takes two spores usually to connect in order to, so what happens is you've got two spores floating around. You got, this one goes, oh, I don't like that one. They'll float around until they find the one they like. They'll connect with it and they drop to the ground and they form a hyphae, which is basically like a little root, a hyphae, and they start to grow in the ground and they form all the mycelium. The mycelium is what is in the soil. It's basically the root systems of mushrooms. You'll find it in the soil, and most healthy soils, all healthy soils have mycelium. You'll find it growing in dead or dying trees, decaying trees. So what's kind of interesting are some of these spores self-sporulate. Just imagine that every time you masturbated, you might, have a baby. Well, it's just kind of an interesting thought. So fungi are really, really complex, and we're really just learning about all the complexities of them. Mycology itself is a very young science, and so that's kind of exciting. Schizophylum. All right, that's a fun picture. I like these fun pictures. Gosh, you're so sexy. I want to cultivate my own mushrooms, unsubscribe from modern socialization and norms, and meet our alien ancestors. This is fun. So when you're talking about taking aphrodisiacs or any kind of psychedelic, and not all aphrodisiacs are psychedelic and vice versa, but I'll go into a little bit of both. And by the way, I might be talking too much. This is like a 2-hour talk that I'm scrunching in. But okay, so it's all about dosage, set, and setting, right? And what does that mean? How much of a substance are we taking? That's the dosage. Are you going major? Are you taking so much that you can't, you withdraw? Well, that's probably not going to be an aphrodisiac for you. If you take so much that you're like, I think I'm going to go lay down under these blankets by myself for a while, But and set and setting. So you want to set the stage. You want to put out pillows. Do you want to be in front of a sunset? Do you want music, incense? You set up your scenario for what you're trying to create, right? That in itself can do a lot right there. I'm just saying. So as far as I'm concerned, and from what I've learned from different indigenous cultures, from what I have learned from reading science papers, and from personal experience and talking with others, there are 3 main types of dosages. Okay, there's going to be a medicinal dosage, and when we're talking about, I'm talking about like taking psilocybin or even Amanita muscaria, a muscimol-based mushroom. There is a medicinal dosage, which is microdosing. That would be like something very small where you really don't feel it. It's just helping your nervous system, helping your body to generate and regenerate and all those things. Then there is the next level up, which is a euphoric dose or an aphrodisiac dose. You can feel the medicine, but it's not so much that you feel disassociated, right? You're able to connect with yourself, your environment, with your partner, whether that's sexual or just friendship, like just taking that little bit more just kind of gives you that floaty feeling, and it's quite nice. Yes, I call it an aphrodisiac or a euphoric dosage. And then you have your shamanic dose, or what Terence McKenna refers to as a heroic dose. And that's like you take a lot, you're going to see vision, your vision or whatever, but most likely you're not going to want to you might want to cuddle, maybe, but a lot of times it's really hard to connect with someone when you take those heavier doses. And I've spoken with people who are like, I just can't take a psychedelic and get sexy with my lover. And I'm like, you probably were taking too much, and that's fine. But, just that lighter level, just that in between is really, really nice. And it allows for all your senses to be heightened and enhanced. So all mushrooms are magic. They are. I can't wait so I've heard that it's been raining here, and I am excited to get out into like all the nooks and crannies where the trees are and stuff and see if I find any mushrooms. So if any of you guys find any kind of mushrooms, I'm not saying necessarily pick them, take a picture of them, or come and get me and show me them, okay? Because I don't know. It's kind of like I get like, I'm like a little girl when it comes to that kind of thing. I love it. This is a Cantharellus variety. It is a chanterelle. You may have eaten those before. They're really, really good. This is a very strange mushroom. I was in Occidental, California for the mushroom camps. They've been doing that for about 40 years. And I went out in the woods and found this very vaginal looking mushroom. I just wanted to, what is that? I never did get that ID'd, but you know, I'm sure I could. That is gorgeous. Doesn't that look like a labia? I think that is like a flower. Super beautiful, right? So luscious, so luscious. What about this? All right, now I'm going to show you this now. If you have sensitivities, close your eyes. I'm just kidding. Or maybe I'm not. So this is more masculine. This is a type of oyster mushroom. It is the king trumpet. Really high in vitamin D. Really good for strengthening your bones. Just saying. Quite delicious. Quite delicious. You know, if you've got a broken bone or something, you know, eating more oyster mushrooms could help mend your bones faster. I'm telling you. I showed this. Thank you very much. All right. I know, it was probably delicious too. So, like, I showed that at the San Diego Mycological, the fungus fair there, and this lady yelled out, "No, stop!" I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry, I should have warned. Okay, so I had to warn you guys. So, okay, so that was very, I mean, like, that looked very phallic. We have the witch's cap. It probably grows around here. Very mucilaginous, you know, sticky. It's like almost like female cum or something. I'm like, wow, these mushrooms are very interesting, very interesting. For the love of guttation. All right, guttation is a cool term I like to use. It's when a plant or a fungi sweat out these little beads of liquid water. And especially these these conch mushrooms, they have pores. And when there's a lot of rain and whatnot, it'll secrete these little beads, these little droplets of water, and they're so pretty. And if you ever get a chance, if you see them, give them a lick, because it's kind of like the cleanest water I've ever had. Wow. It's very clean, and it's just, that was North Cali. I think we were kind of getting closer to the redwoods, but not quite. It was on the coast somewhere. Anyway, I can't tell you where. I'm just kidding. No, it is fun to lick them. I like to lick mushrooms. Okay. All right. Mushroom brain tonic. So when our brains are functioning, we are better able to make decisions, be clear, all the things. A lot of us get caught up in our heads about a lot of things. A lot of us have experienced traumas. A lot of us have experienced things that give us PTSD and all kinds of things. We've got hang-ups. God, we all have hang-ups. And so one of the things I'm really passionate about in my studies is not only like the functionality and the health and the well-being of our systems, but how we can relate to one another and relate to ourselves, because it starts here. It starts here. It starts here. So anyway, there's a lot of nootropics. There's a lot of brain tonics. We've got lion's mane. We've got chaga, psilocybe species, hundreds of psilocybe species. That would be like your psilocybin-based mushrooms. Cordyceps, the Amanita muscaria, reishi, and the list goes on. This is just like a very, like just touching the base. Just the tip. It's just the tip. Okay, sorry. So lion's mane, I want to go ahead and say something about lion's mane. I might have some more slides about lion's mane. I might be jumping the gun here, but lion's mane is a really, really fantastic fungi, Hericium erinaceus. It looks like little tendrils, like ice tendrils or something, gorgeous, grows on wood. It probably grows around here. There's a lot of debate as to whether or not we should be consuming the mycelium or the fruiting body. And I wrote an article about my perspective on that if you're interested in it. But basically, we have, so a lot of these mushrooms are not really well studied, while some of them have been well studied. So like, for instance, lion's mane, if you're going to take it, make sure you're taking a full spectrum. Full spectrum means the fruiting body, and the mycelium. So that particular mushroom has been studied, and it has been shown that a lot of the neurogenerative properties are in the mycelium. The mycelium secretes these little like droplets of enzymes, like liquid, and so in that particular mycelium, that's the neurogenesis. Neurogenesis is when our nervous system is growing. We can grow new nervous tissue in our brain and anywhere, right? So like all the way to our fingertips or our toes. So I say full spectrum across the board. So I just wanted to make mention of that. If you're using lion's mane, make sure it's a full spectrum, in my opinion. The fruiting body does have neuroprotective properties, which is important as well. All right. What did I put here? Sex in your nervous system. Given that the nervous system controls so much of how our bodies work, it makes sense that it also has a huge impact on arousal, connection, and experiencing orgasm. The limbic system helps to regulate parts of the autonomic nervous system, which is responsible for regulating bodily responses like breathing, blood pressure, and pulse. Thought of as the primitive area of the brain, the limbic system also plays a role in physical drives and emotional processing, and it's activated during sex. So sex is actually important, whether you're having it with yourself or someone else, I feel. When the nervous system is not working optimally, it can affect when we become aroused, our responses, our comfort levels in sex, and so much more. Much of the hormone regulation in our bodies is regulated by the nervous system. Did you know that? So hormones play a huge part in how we interact with the world, our emotions, how our bodies are functioning, and this all ties back to the nervous system. All right. Using aphrodisiacs. I think I already went through this. Using pillows and beautiful things, crystals. Oh, yes. And the deliciousness of chocolate. Who here likes chocolate? Yeah. So I did make some chocolates. It does not have psilocybin in it. I'm super sorry. But I did make these cute little aphrodisiac chocolates. They have cordyceps, 2 strains of cordyceps. We have cordyceps sinensis and cordyceps militaris. It has some lion's mane in it. And then I put things in there like maca, ginseng, horny goat weed, a tiny, tiny bit of yohimbe just to give it that sparkle. But I am going to have my lovely mushroom assistant pass them out if you would like to try them. I made them myself. Me and my lover made them. But they are little tiny, cute little yummies. So enjoy. That's just to excite your sense. Oh, I did put a little bit of spice. So it has a little capsicum in it. Just a little. So chocolate is very interesting. Cacao is an MAO inhibitor. If you did not know this, now you do. So that basically means if you're going to eat a bunch of chocolate right before you take psilocybin mushrooms, it's going to make your trip stronger, basically. All right. And I could go into that topic actually for about 2 hours. So the 5 senses, I already went through all of this. It's so fun. Taste, smell, the forgotten 6th sense. Erogenous zones. Ooh. So erogenous zones are kind of fun because they're very unique to each individual. Some people might really like the backs of their hands stroked, right? Right now I'm studying using MDMA to help reverse sexual traumas. A lot of times people, when they've been sexually traumatized, you go numb. But we can reverse things. Our bodies are incredible. We can change our entire patterns. And to me, it's all about changing patterns, all of it, on the planet, in ourselves. And we have the opportunity right now to take action in the ways that need to be taking action in our own lives and on the planet at large. And I'm very optimistic for the future. Even though there's so much shit going on the planet, I really have a lot of optimism for the fact that there are so many people that are coming, you can say awakening or whatever. We're coming to awareness. And it starts with ourselves. starts with ourselves. Utilizing psychedelics to overcome the lack of love and touch experienced. Yes, MDMA enhances. So the thing is that MDMA, there's a lot of studies on it right now, and I think Australia just legalized it for therapeutic uses. It can damage the nervous system. Isn't that kind of interesting? It's an amphetamine. So it's like, it's a chemical. And I used to be anti-chemical anything. But in smaller doses, it can enhance. And I know I'm not here to talk about MDMA, but you can use it in conjunction with psilocybin. And I will say this, and this isn't in my talk or anything, we can train our nervous system. So, for instance, in my Psychedelic Club, one of our board members, he's an athlete, he's a professional runner, and he uses psilocybin and LSD in his training. We did one talk. We had one of our, we had a guest speaker, but we were talking about how you can use mushrooms, for instance, to learn a new skill or to sharpen your skills. So like if you're learning to juggle, if you're learning to play guitar, if you're running, or whatever it is that you're doing, you can take that, but it's all about intention, right? So you take things with the intention of sharpening a skill. You can do that in the bedroom too. You can do that in any situation. So it's kind of interesting if you're trying to resensitize yourself or sensitize yourself in general, you can do it with intention, and you can take a little bit of psilocybin or just a little bit more psilocybin, and but do it with intention. Psychedelics impact sexual desire. They're finding that more and more when we take psilocybin and other lovely fun mushrooms, that it actually can increase our sexual desire. When we have our needs met, for example, when we're well hydrated, we got oxygen, when we have all, the antioxidants, the vitamins, the minerals, and then some of these mushrooms enhance our nervous system. So this is going to enhance sexual pleasure. It's very interesting. You can play around with these things. All right. Truffles. Who here is familiar with truffles? All right. They're like these really weird little fungal creatures that live under the ground. They're like little tubers. And squirrels love them, dogs love them, pigs love them. And it's interesting, it's called an aphrodisiac. When we sniff it, it's supposed to be like, I feel sexy or whatever. But there's a reason behind that, and I want to share it with you. They let off a musky scent that is similar to sex hormones. So that's why pigs like it. It lets off the same hormone that's found in male pig semen. Isn't that weird? And is also found in small amounts in female pig urine. But it lets off this hormone, and for some reason, we also are attracted to that smell. And I find that very interesting. We're probably more closer connected to a lot of nature than we realize. But so like truffles let off a sex hormone smell that our senses seem to like. So, sprinkle it on your French fries. I don't know. But it's just like an interesting thing, when we're thinking about how closely related we are with fungi, the scent of a mushroom can induce orgasm. I'll tell you real quick about, there is this, we'll call it a myth, but it's a story. It's about the women's mushroom, okay? And the Samoans have talked about it. There's texts involved in that, but it's the Hawaiian stinkhorn. Has anyone here heard of the Hawaiian stinkhorn? Yeah, and there's controversy, and actually I've been very scrutinized for even writing about it or talking about it, but Darwin's granddaughter writes about it, and it's found in other texts. And there was so the Hawaiian stinkhorn, if you know anything about a stinkhorn, it smells really bad, okay? It stinks. It looks very phallic too. So it stinks, it smells like rotting meat. And flies land on it and they spread the spores, okay? So this is like weird that you would think. So people are like, oh, this is not a real story. But in 2001, John Holliday of Aloha Medicinals, he went down to Hawaii. It's found on Maui, by the way. And the story is that this mushroom is very elusive and that if you've been good in the eyes of the gods as a woman, that the gods will let you find it, right? And so when a woman smells it, it's supposed to cause orgasm. But when a man smells it, it smells awful. So I talked to the gal who knew, she says she knows where they grow, and she showed John Holliday where they grow. So back in 2001, he did a study where I guess it was all volunteers, 16 females and 20 males, and he had everybody smell it. And every single woman either had an orgasm, had euphoric feelings, or their heart rate raised. So it did something to them, but every single man that smelled it thought it smelled disgusting. I'm like, I need to go down there and find this. I think more research needs to be done on this mushroom. I'm going to find it. So I've had several friends go down there and try to find it. They're all guys, though. They're like, I can't find it, Rayne. It doesn't exist. I'm like, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I need to go down there and find it. But no, one of the things that has been argued is that, a scent could not make you orgasm. I'm like, I'm sorry, what's a wet dream? That's just a thought, Our brains are very powerful. Scents can be powerful. The truffle, it's like that's a sexual scent. So I don't know. I just kind of putting the dots together, but it is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Mushrooms, the nervous system, the forbidden fruit. There's a lot of old texts. There's a lot of art. There's a lot of pictographs and things like that depict what we think are mushrooms. For instance, I don't know if you can see this or not. There's Adam and Eve. It looks like an Amanita muscaria to me. It could be anything. It's really up for, but it looks like an Amanita muscaria. And so there are entire groups of people that basically worship the Amanita muscaria mushroom. There's a group right outside of Austin, Texas, called the Ambrosia Society, and I decided to go there in person and go talk to them. And it was basically a mushroom cult. It was, but had a lot of good information to share. So that was interesting. Such a pretty mushroom, the Amanita muscaria. So muscimol. So okay, we have when you think of magic mushrooms, you think of psilocybin-based mushrooms like cubensis, cubes, right? There are literally over 500 psilocybe species all around the world, and hey, maybe we'll find one here on the property. So psilocybin interacts with our brain and our nervous system and whatnot in certain ways, but muscimol is completely different. Muscimol is what's found in the Amanita muscaria mushroom, and I actually make medicines with it. It's completely legal in every single state except for Louisiana. I'm not sure why. But muscimol, what happens is it binds to the GABA receptors in our brain, and it allows for a smooth transference of the electrical pulses. So basically people who have like epileptic seizures and things like that, if there's like a misfiring going on, and this muscimol has been shown to really help with things like epilepsy. Also MS, anything nervous system related. I have clients that come to me and tell me that they're taking my tinctures in lieu of their, seizure medicines. And I'm like, that's really powerful feedback. There's way too many pictures of me with these mushrooms. They're so beautiful. Yeah, I encourage you to join your local mycological societies, mycological groups. Get out there in nature. Learn what's edible, learn what's medicinal, and learn what is poisonous. It's important to learn what's poisonous so that you don't, die. But most mushrooms are not going to kill you. Most of them are not. All right, I just went through that. In some places, Amanita muscaria has been used traditionally as a food. Muscimol and ibotenic acid are water soluble. So if you boil it down, all of those constituents go into the water. So some people say, and I tried it, some people say that you can take that mushroom meat and then saute it, eat it. A lot of cultures do that. I tried doing that with our Flavivolvata species in Colorado. I heard that it was higher in ibotenic acid and muscimol, and I parboiled it not once, not twice, but thrice, and I videoed it. I'm like, oh, this is how you do it. sauteed the mushroom. Really delicious mushroom, by the way. Butter, garlic, salt. I ate it, and within about 30 minutes, I started sweating. I was like, oh, I started feeling nauseated. I was like, oh, this is not good. This is not what I wanted. But what ibotenic acid does is it's kind of harsh on your liver, and it causes you to sweat a lot, salivate, feel nauseated. It's very uncomfortable. That's why it's really important to prepare it properly if you're going to consume it for medicine. But I was not happy. I had to go and purge, and I was like, I'm not ready to trip. But that night I slept really well. I could feel where Venus was in the sky. So ibotenic acid is a constituent in Amanita muscaria that makes you sick. This is why you do not want to eat this mushroom raw. Don't eat it raw, okay? Don't let other people tell you, oh, it's okay, I've eaten it raw, I was fine. It's not going to kill you. It might make you vomit. Do what you want to do. You're a free person. Eat the heck out of it. But I don't suggest to eat it raw. Ibotenic acid converts into muscimol. And the way that you convert it is by, first of all, you just take the cap of your mushroom, your Amanita muscaria, and you dry it. Drying it is the first step in the conversion process. It's basically like decarboxylation if you're familiar with cannabis. So you dry it. Then you're going to weigh it out. About 3 or 4 grams is a light dose of dry matter. Boil it down for about 30, 45 minutes, strain out all the mushroom matter, and then that's your tea. It's going to make you fall asleep. It makes you very sleepy. It's a sleeping medicine. It's a sleeping herb. It gives you visions. So I've used it and people take it and they're like, oh, I'm going to trip. It's like they're passed out. And I've actually held sleeping ceremonies where there's a group of people, everybody's got their sleeping bags and whatnot, and I serve the tea, and then everybody goes to sleep, and I play music. I might, burn some incense, spray some rose water, but hold space. Well, everyone sleeps for about 4 or 5 hours, and you wake up and you're like, I feel like I resolved something. It's very interesting. You can also smoke it. Dry the cap, crumble it up, and smoke it. It smells very much like opium or something like that. It's very earthy, but it's really nice. So when you smoke it, it doesn't make you go to sleep. It actually heightens things. So I like to mix it with cannabis. You can smoke it by itself. I have a smoke blend that I make where I mix it with mullein and some damiana and some things. But you smoke it, and it's actually referred to as the businessman's hallucinogenic because you can take it and be really on top of your game. And it just makes me feel very clear. And I've had hundreds of feedback from people over the years. Clear, but grounded. Centered, but like heightened. It's a very nice way to intake it is by smoking it. Let's see, I have 10 minutes left, so I want to kind of get through here. Epilepsy. Let's just see here. Yes, so deer, maybe you've heard of reindeer eating the Amanita muscaria. I found that not only do deer like it, elk like it, and I was up in my patch, and there are these huge bites, and I was like, wow, that's bigger than a deer mouth, and I'm like, that's got to be elk or something, and I look up, and one of my kids, my 16-year-old, goes, Mom, moose, and I'm like, oh my, there were 2 very large moose in my Amanita muscaria patch, just chomping away. And I'm like, oh, Amanita muscaria. And so silly. I know, it's so silly. Yeah. Amanita muscaria. I don't know if you can even see this, but they're like yelling at me. They're like, Mom, moose are more aggressive than sharks. And I'm like, but I just got to get this shot, But they were up there, and they were not afraid of us, but they weren't intimidated. They weren't, I don't know, they didn't really care. They looked at me, they walked out to the middle of the field, and they took a big poop. I was like, yeah, they're not afraid. they're relaxed. They've been eating Amanita muscaria. So I make a tincture called Relax Calm. It is microdosing. Amanita muscaria, and yeah, it's good stuff. Okay, I'm not trying to super sell myself like that, but maitake is really good for women. It's a fertility mushroom. You can eat it as a food. You can take it as a medicine. It helps to balance the hormones in your brain. So I found that maitake, mycelium, and cordyceps mushrooms, which I mix together, are incredibly good for both men and women, balancing your hormones. It raises testosterone in men, which helps with libido and longevity. And also, like, if you're wanting to, be an athlete, do athletic stuff. But it also balances progesterone and estrogen. So these are really, really powerful mushrooms if you want to balance your hormones. Maitake, mycelium, cordyceps. The amazing cordyceps. There's been a lot of studies on cordyceps. Incredible for fighting cancer, but like it's referred to as the Viagra of mushrooms. And I have seen it work really well in both men and women. It does. It helps with endurance. I like to take it before going hiking and things like that. If you want to learn about growing your own cordyceps, shout out to William Padilla Brown. Shout out. He has a cordyceps cultivation guidebook or handbook, and you can buy it on Etsy. It's like a PDF download. But you can grow a lot of these mushrooms. So cordyceps is really weird in that it attacks the nervous system of insects and arachnids. But when we eat it, it does other things. It's a very weird thing. But you can grow it on other types of substrates. So you can grow it on rice or anything like that. Cordyceps. All right. So I probably have about 5 minutes left. Cordyceps is really, really very strange. This is what are those giant, a tarantula. Cordyceps attacking a tarantula. Really beautiful, but kind of creepy. In the wild, it's over $14,000 a pound. So, and it's being over-harvested in Tibet and whatnot. There's all this controversy about eating wild cordyceps versus cultivated. But, you can get it cultivated pretty well priced. All right, that's Anthony Kunkel, our runner. He came out about using psilocybin, and all of his sponsors dropped him. And I was like, he's like, Rayne, what should I do? And I'm like, go to all the mushroom companies. They'll sponsor you, I'll sponsor you, Oh, my. So Colorado Mushroom Company is my company if you want to support me. If you're interested in learning more about psychedelics, you can join my psychedelic club, the Psychedelic Club of Durango. But we go national, we go online, and we have a podcast. We have guest speakers, authors, and things like that. Oh goodness, this is such a long, the heart and brain connection. Okay, I'll just say this very quickly. Everyone thinks about this brain right here. We have this brain here. We have this brain here. And how do we connect them all? Okay. And there is a traditional, like the Aztecs and the Toltecs have a ritual, or this is very sacred, and it's written on their in their codex. But they take the mushroom raw. First of all, they fast for about a week, so you're very clean. Then they drink a very strong cacao drink. This is an MAO inhibitor, but it also a heart opener, and warms the blood, gets the blood flowing. But then they take the mushroom raw, cover it with honey from a honey wasp, not a bee, but it's a honey wasp, and then they chew on it. And you don't swallow it. You chew and chew and chew, and then you spit it out. So we absorb the psilocybin through our mucous membranes in our mouth. And not only is it closer to this brain, but it goes down the vagus nerve and goes straight to the heart. And they call it the heart opening, okay? So when we do these psilocybin mushrooms, do it with intention to open the heart. I want to wrap it up. So yes, my name is Rayne Grant. Please come hang out with me, find me, chat about mushrooms. I love geeking out. I'm always open to learning new information myself, so please come and chat with me. Thank you so much for being here. Happy Lucidity.
Rayne, I'm going to open it up for questions for about 10 minutes. Awesome. We have about 10 minutes for questions.
Awesome.
If you do have a question, just go ahead and raise your hand. Please speak loudly so we can address the whole group. Does anybody have any comments or anything?
Is Amanita muscaria illegal federally, or is it state legal?
So Amanita muscaria. So you're asking if Amanita muscaria is legal if it's a state or federal thing. So if you can go to Wikipedia and see which countries it's illegal in. The United States is not one of them, and it's because it's never been, it's never been a considered a drug, a scheduled drug, and so it's, but for some reason in Louisiana it has been deemed illegal, so it is not federally illegal. That's the answer to your question.
Good question.
Any other questions?
I don't know if this is true, but have you heard that, like you said, the reindeer eat them, and then I know this sounds weird, but they urinate and they actually drink the urine. Is that true that it does something to it?
All right. So your question has to do with reindeer eating the Amanita muscaria, and then their urine, and then peeing it out. There is this whole thing where the shamans. So our bodies assimilate. So okay. Our bodies convert ibotenic acid into muscimol, and when we urinate it out, you could re-drink it. You could, and so the shamans supposedly did that so that way they didn't get sick. They would drink the urine. I don't suggest this. There are other ways to convert, like what I was talking about earlier with drying it and boiling it. But some people really like urine. I mean, so you can do what you want to do, but that is like. Part of the history of it is that the shamans would carry around a little bottle, and like when they would try to capture the urine, which it's interesting. There's a lot of gray areas surrounding that mythos. Yes.
You're in for a treat.
I know, you're in for a treat. Aww. Are there any other questions? Yes. So your question, and then tell me like if I'm right or wrong. Your question is having to do with the consumption of it. You were saying, so when drying it.
For eating it, dry it, boil that down 30 minutes.
Yes, so if you're consuming it for a medicinal purpose, not for a food purpose, yes, you dry it. I like to put it on a dryer for at least 110 degrees, drying it, and just the cap, and then boil it, then separate it, and drink the liquid.
What about for smoking it? Is the rest of the time?
So for smoking it, you don't need to boil it. You would just pick it, dry it, just the cap, and I crumble it up. I like to put it in a coffee grinder, and I do have some here. If you want to, I have some that you can actually, if you want to, you guys can look at it and smell it. It's a very fragile mushroom, so I put it in this. But yeah, guys, like seriously, come smell it. It smells very meaty. It smells delicious. And make sure to put it back in the jar. But you're welcome to smell it, look at it. It smells lovely. It smells like something that you would want to eat. But yeah, you don't have to boil it to smoke it. That's your question. Does anybody else have a question or a comment? Yes?
I was just curious if you know how the substrate or the media that you're growing a mushroom on, how that might affect the compounds present in it. So like with plants, if you're growing plants in really unhealthy soil, the result of what you're going to be consuming is not as healthy. It doesn't have as many vitamins and minerals, so I'm curious to know how that is a question.
So your question is having to do with what substrate to grow on and if that affects the mushrooms that you're growing. Absolutely, and the energy put into it as well. I know people that have grown lion's mane on maca and cacao, and I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Especially if you're planning on consuming the mycelium portion of it. Grow it on a compound that you're going to be able to eat or consume. But then there's also the premise that, say, oyster mushrooms can break down petroleum products into something that's more organic and still be able to be eaten. Now, there's this whole, it's called the fungiforium. They, and I think they're in Norway, I think they're in Norway, but what is it called?
Bioremediation.
No, well, bioremediation is definitely a good term. But no, the fungiforium, they have a company that they grow the mushroom on plastics, okay, to create something edible. So they grow so the substrate itself is plastic, which you would think is not a good substrate. It's not edible, but yet they're creating food products from something that is not food. So that's interesting. I haven't tried that food. I'd be willing to try it. I'm kind of like off put by it just because, but it's kind of a cool concept. But yes, what you grow your stuff on is definitely going to affect the mushroom. But at the same time, like I said, it's going to turn something that's not food into food at the same time. So it's just really dependent upon what you're trying to achieve, I guess. Does that answer your question? A little bit. Yeah. Are there any other questions? Yes.
Just piggybacking off of that, maybe that can help refine this. I'm curious, like, are you wondering, like, what substrates would cause for, like, the active chemicals in a mushroom, like muscaria, to be most realized?
So with Amanita muscaria, no one's been able to fruit that in the laboratory. But I was just at the mushroom camps in Occidental, and a friend of mine with Jewels of the Forest, shout out, had Amanita muscaria on a petri dish. It was just the mycelium, so that was very exciting to me. But something like that is a mycorrhizal, has mycorrhizal relationships, so it has to have its host plant, right? Mushrooms are very interesting creatures, and so it's interesting when you can take a mycorrhizal species and grow it in the laboratory or grow it in a garden setting. But yeah, like for instance, shiitake really likes wood, right? Or oyster mushrooms really likes wood. So growing it on like a log or even like sawdust would probably be what it prefers, but you can still grow some of those on, say, food compost, right? And whether or not that affects the mushroom itself, you're gonna need to look at that in a lab setting, look at the genetics, look at what's happening. But for the most part, a lot of these mushrooms still contain at least the base level of what we're looking for. But absolutely, what you grow it on and what your intention is going to affect the mushroom as far as I can say. And on an esoteric level, like what love are you putting into it?
I know they have done studies where they introduce tryptamine to the substrate growing psilocybin, and then it actually takes it up and increases the psilocybin levels by introducing this strong tryptamine.
So I think what you're talking about, there's a church called the Church of Siliphenexine. They're right outside of Austin, Texas, and I just joined their church. I'm about to go to the Ecstatic Forest Festival in Austin, Texas, right after this. And I'm hoping to connect with those guys. But what they do is they take 5-MeO, and I think this is what you're talking about, 5-MeO, DMT, excuse me, thank you. And they insert it into the mycelium of the psilocybin, right? They grow it to a point where it does not fruit, because it's actually the mushroom fruit that's illegal in a lot of states. And the mycelium itself still contains psilocybin. So what they are creating is some other thing. They're calling it Siliphenexine, I do believe it's called. And there's a whole church. You can look it up online and become a member. I have not tried it yet, and I'm very interested. You tried it? Did you like it? Very interesting. I'm curious. I want to know more. Kind of like LSD. Very interesting. Very interesting. Are there any other questions or comments? And we can pass it to the next.
So I've seen Amanita that's been dried for about 10 years. Do we think it's probably too degraded to be useful at this point?
Probably not. My understanding is that muscimol itself, like that's the constituent, that's the psychoactive. It's very heat stable. Okay, so it's probably fine. Give it a shot, and let me know. Are there any other quick questions? Yes.
If you want to grow it in Southern California, what's the most sustainable local way to find substrate without buying like a kit?
Are you talking about psilocybin-based mushrooms? And when you're talking about substrate, you're talking about what the mushroom is growing on. Some people grow it on popcorn, like corn. You can grow it on any grain, millet. You can grow it on rye. It's just really dependent upon what you want to grow it on. And the thing is because there's like so many different types of psilocybin-based mushrooms. Some of them like more moist, more warm, drier. So you really need to know what mushroom you're working with and kind of, you have to control. That's the thing about laboratory stuff, is like you got to control the heat, the humidity, and once you dial that in, then you got something. I kind of like growing things in the wild or like outside in the garden. Was there a question?
What's your favorite mushroom?
What's my favorite mushroom? Oh my gosh, there's so many. Okay, I love Amanita muscaria. It's really beautiful. That's my spirit mushroom. If you have spirit animals, my spirit mushroom is Amanita muscaria. Good grief. I really, really like finding things like hedgehog mushrooms out in the wild because they're kind of obscure. They have the little teeth underneath and they smell like apricots. That's kind of fun. It's really hard to say what my favorite mushroom is. It really is, because it's like there are so many different ones. I get excited about Fomitopsis panicula, also known as Fomitopsis shrinkii in certain regions. That's the red-belted polypore. And I'll tell you why. Paul Stamets has been utilizing the red-belted polypore in some of his studies having to do with bee health, utilizing the enzymes that are produced on the mycelium. The bees naturally want to drink those enzymes, and it doubles their life expectancy. It also does all kinds of amazing things to us, so I really have to say red-belted polypore is way up there. Shout out to Unison Festival. I'm on the Unison Festival crew. I'm on the team. I run the workshops there. We're going to do our festival in September. This will be our 3rd annual in September. And if you're interested in putting on a workshop, go to our website and you'll be interacting with me. We are looking for, we just opened up applications like 2 days ago. So I just wanted to give a shout out. And I will be teaching at Sonic Bloom. Stephanity is our workshop queen. And so, yeah, Sonic Bloom, you guys, that's another really beautiful one in Colorado. So shout out to all of it. So thank you so much for having open ears, open hearts. Beautiful Lucidity Festival. Grateful to be here. All these people here in one location. When we bring our intentions together, it can be powerful. So I'm just really, really excited to be here right now. If you're interested in chatting more, grab me to the side. I have mushroom coffees. I've got Amanita muscaria tinctures and things like that. I had to bring some of them with me because if I don't, what am I doing? But I have cards if you want to interact with me, and I have free stickers. So if you like stickers with mushrooms on them. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Give it up for Rayne. Thank you, Rayne. That was awesome.
Thank you.
So stick around if you want to learn about the healing technologies of the Kogi people with Candy Maku. We've got that coming up in about 15 minutes on the summit stage. Thank you, Rayne.
Thank you. Fun. So fun. So fun.
I'm Ezra.
Ezra?
Yeah.
Rayne, it's nice to meet
I grew
you.
up in Seattle. I was like,
Oh, yeah?
it's psilocybin because they grow the cyanescens grow up there. So
The sinus and the azarescence
mostly grow out on the
coast. Yeah, that's where I was just out in Portland for the radical mycology convergence.
Yeah.
And I didn't find any, but I was out there.
I'm very partial to those wood lovers. I feel like they're qualitatively noticeably different to me than
If people want to hang around and chat, just direct them to the back.
Okay, I sure will. Okay, thank you. So yeah, you can check out some. I only brought a few books, but I own like so many books, it's ridiculous. And this. Thank you for being here.
I was actually going to ask you to sell any ones that you make on the side, like of the Amanitas.
I do.
Cannabis. Do you have it? And are you going to?
I brought some tinctures.
Okay.
And I do have, and they said to direct everybody to the back. So I'm going to gather my things and go back here, and then we can just chat and all the things. But I do have tinctures I brought with the Amanita muscaria. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna gather all my things and kind of just move to the back, probably in the shade, I think. Yeah.
Do you need help?
Oh, thank you. You could just put. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We could just put all these things in the basket, and that'll make it easy.
I just wanted to say hi. I met your sister.
Oh, you met Jenny? Oh, yay! Oh, were you in Costa Rica? Okay, she told me about you. She's like, yay! My friend's gonna be there, and I'm like, aw. I'll tell her I saw you. Thank you. What? Some crowds are just like, did she say sex? And I'm like, you came to a nootropic and aphrodisiac talk, right? Like, sorry. Yeah, like dull it down. For Unison, it's going to be a good one. It's a really nice transformational festival. And yeah, it's like my baby. It's my baby. Yeah, take some stickers. I just rip. I should have cut them, but you know. Hey, you know. Today's my only talk, but you can. I'll just talk. We're all going to the back. Yeah. Awesome. You have stuff too? We're all going to go to the back, and then we can look at each other's stuff. I'm interested.
Yeah, the mushroom conversation continues.
It continues.
Rayne, that was so amazing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here.
I want to give you a gift. Let's see.
Need help packing up?
Sidelines over here, okay?
Okay.
Do you want to help bring it help packing up?
You could just put stuff in here, and then I can just carry it all at one time.
You have stickers?
I do.
Stickers are here. Stickers.
You'd like a sticker? Yeah. Fun, fun, fun. Fun, fun, fun. Thank you so much. My card's on the side.